Hello and welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I have a rather interesting video yet again, and this time I'm going to making my official and final prediction of who I believe will be Kamala Harris's VP in the upcoming election. Before I get into the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and drop a comment below. It really helps the algorithm, and I'd like to hear what you guys think, because I know this is going to be a pretty controversial topic, but I'll present the evidence, I'll present the facts, and based on everything that I'm presenting to you guys and some other information, I will be coming to a conclusion as to who I believe she will pick. There's been many reports she'll pick the VP by August 5th, tomorrow, on Monday. I just don't know if she will, but we'll see. She's set to announce it by tomorrow. Let's get into it. So we have an article here by Reuters, and it says Harris interviews Walz, Kelly, and Shapiro at her home for VP pick. So right off the bat, we know who the top three guys are: Kelly, Shapiro, and Walz. Walz is the governor of Minnesota. Kelly's the senator from Arizona, and then Shapiro's the governor of Pennsylvania. So many people are wondering, why is Beshear not on this? Well, Beshear sort of distanced himself from the VP stakes. For better or for worse, I think it makes sense as to why he wants to distance himself. Kentucky, at the end of the day, if we're looking at it from a statistical perspective, or more so an analytical perspective, Kentucky as a state, if Democrats won it, yeah, they could win it, sure, cool, if Beshear was picked. But will he impact the rest of the ticket? Will he win Michigan? Will he win Pennsylvania? Probably not. So, I mean, maybe Michigan, but maybe not Pennsylvania. So that's something that she needs to also consider. But I digress. That doesn't really matter because Walz is not really a strategic pick. He's from Minnesota. That's pretty much on lock for Democrats. So it doesn't really make any sense why she would pick Walz. But I will explain why she may pick him. I'll explain maybe the rationale behind why she may pick him. Kelly and Shapiro make perfect sense, and I'll explain it after I read this article, read some pieces out for you guys. So, yeah, again, she's expected to announce her choice as early as Monday. We don't know for sure, but she'll be with the VP pick for sure on Tuesday in Philadelphia. So that's August 6th. I mean, if we're going to be honest, she's probably going to announce it tomorrow, but there's always a chance that she will announce it on the day of and make like this big deal of it. But I still believe that she will announce it tomorrow. Now, we have this, though. We have this information. She met Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who also ran for president in 2020, for 90 minutes on Friday, but she didn't meet him at her home. So maybe that's an indication of his rank on the list, but that's maybe I'm reading into the lines too much. And then, yeah, but Beshear and J.B. Pritzker are still candidates in contention. I haven't really seen J.B. Pritzker float around a lot. I've seen like some people mention him, but he hasn't really been like a serious contender. If you look at all the betting odds, he's not really at the top of the list. Beshear I've obviously seen, but I think the people that were interviewed at the home are definitely the ones that are most likely to get picked. And just goes on to say, it explains when she's likely to announce it and some of the other people that she is considering. Yeah, and as we can see here, obviously, this is a comment made by Nina Turner, who was a Bernie Sanders campaign person in 2020. She mentioned how picking Shapiro would close some doors in terms of Gaza supporters. So it'd definitely be Michigan. That would be a big impact. That would really be impacted there because of that stance from Shapiro, who firmly supports Israel. Next up, we got another article here. This is Statista. I sort of give you guys a sneak peek there, but now I'll be going with the odds. So this is one of the odds that are here available by Statista. And I don't want this to be the end-all, be-all. It doesn't really mean anything if the odds are, in favor of one candidate over another. You also got to keep in mind when Trump picked J.D. Vance, he was not the odds-on favorite. It was actually Doug Burgum, I believe, or some other people as well. Marco Rubio was also up there. Probably Tim Scott. J.D. Vance was probably like third or fourth. He probably wasn't. I know he wasn't the highest one. So again, these odds, they don't really mean anything, but they do sort of indicate who's in the running. So, I don't know who this is. Catherine Cortez Masto. He's senator from Nevada. Haven't really heard her name float around. I don't think they'll do a two-woman ticket, if we're being honest. Andy Bashir, 4.5%. That's really surprising. I thought he would be at least in the tens. At least 10%. But that's really surprising. 4.5%, that's pretty low because I was hearing a lot of chatter about him at the beginning of these Veep stakes. Then we got Buttigieg, 4.8%. I don't really think he has a chance. They're not going to go with the gay man. They want to keep it. I don't want to say that they want to keep it straight, but the Democrats, if they're already going with a woman of color, they're probably not going to go with someone else who is a minority, if we're going to be honest, except for Shapiro, who I'll get to in a second. Tim Walz of Minnesota, we got 14.3%. I'm actually surprised it's that low. I actually was going to explain and make a case why it should be higher, or why I believe it should be higher, because I've been seeing some reporting on some other articles that I'm not going to be covering in this one, but you guys can look up just Tim Walz odds, or just look up Tim Walz in general, and you'll see what I'm talking about. There's been a lot of chatter that he's actually going to be the VP pick, because apparently, I don't know why he would do this, other than the fact that he's the VP pick, but apparently he canceled some sort of event that he had this week, and I believe it's on Tuesday. So, why is that? That's interesting, because he's probably going to be the VP pick. That could be an indication, but we don't know for sure. Then Mark Kelly, we got 36.4%, pretty much neck and neck with Josh Shapiro, who is at 36.8%. So I'll just now be going over why I believe, or who I believe will be the top three candidates. I think it's Shapiro, Kelly, and Walz. I think it's pretty obvious based on this article, everything that's been said recently at least. It just doesn't seem to be Bashir. It's not going to be Buttigieg. It's not going to be Pritzker. It's not going to be any of these other guys. Governor of Maryland, I forgot what his name is. It's not going to be those guys. It's going to be one of these three. So don't be surprised if you see one of these three as the VP pick. Also keep in mind, Roy Cooper removed himself from consideration. So there's also that. He was also a top pick. I think if Roy Cooper was still in this, it would probably bump Walz down by one. But nonetheless, Walz is in the top three. And here we got another article. Two of Kamala Harris's VP contenders' odds surge as decision is imminent. It will probably be announced tomorrow. And yet again, another betting site is claiming that Shapiro is at the top as a front runner, and Tim Walz. Tim Walz as a front runner, more so above Mark Kelly, who was actually ranked as number 2 in this one. But then again, I am of the firm belief that Tim Walz is more likely to get picked as the VP pick than Mark Kelly. So I'll leave this with two options, and I'll be giving my prediction shortly, but I'll just be going over why each candidate would be important strategically. So I'll go over the top three. Mark Kelly, obviously got a senator from Arizona. He's an astronaut. He was in the military. You can use that sort of experience to cater to Americans. He's also coming from a red state, or a typically red state. I mean, obviously Arizona slipped in 2020, but that would really help a lot. So they could potentially win in Arizona. Is it going to impact the electoral map? Maybe, maybe not. But it would definitely be a good pickup for Democrats because they were actually losing Arizona under Biden when he was still running. Then we got, I'll go with Walz. Walz, I'm not a fan of his personally at all, but he's really catered to this progressive wing of the Democrats. He's a really, 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 really leftist governor of Minnesota. He's honestly kind of radical, but people like him in Minnesota. He's very well liked there, very well received, and he's been going on the media recently, on different news networks, and he's just been calling Republicans weird. Weird. That's his big thing. His big thing is like, oh yeah, I call Republicans weird. So that's sort of his claim to fame, and Democrats have been running with that. They love it. They have all sorts of people that are saying it now. Oh yeah, these Republicans, they're just weird. So that's their new thing. So he sort of created that and started that whole phenom. So I guess there's that. He's also a very progressive person, so he'll definitely cater to the progressive wing, as I mentioned earlier. He may sway some of those younger voters. Older voters, I'm not so sure. Also, keep in mind, he's 60 years old. Same age as Kamala, but he looks like he's 80. So, I don't know if that's going to maybe persuade some older voters to vote for him because he looks old. I'm not sure, but he's definitely going to get some younger voters in. Is maybe going to lose some moderates, but then again, Democrats sort of need those younger voters. Then we got Shapiro. The only reason you would pick Shapiro is if you want to guarantee Pennsylvania, and that would be pretty much the only reason why they would do that. But then again, if you pick Shapiro, you run the risk of losing Michigan, which could have major implications. Because if, for example, Michigan does end up going to Republicans, if Wisconsin ends up going to Republicans, they may win. So maybe their gamble wouldn't really pay off if they end up picking Shapiro. But then again, obviously you got the Penn vote, which is 19 electoral votes. That's a pretty big deal. And you may also have the Jewish vote. So many Jewish people who may have been inclined to vote Republican because of the policy that Democrats have had in Israel that hasn't been supportive enough. Many of those people may be inclined to vote Democrat since Shapiro is Jewish and caters to that wing of the party in the sense that he agrees with them and they agree with him. So that would be pretty big in terms of really shifting the vote for some people that are on the fence, or at least obviously we have Pennsylvania, which is going to be shifted, but also some people who are maybe going and considering going to Republicans just because they don't like one specific policy or their entire handling of the issue. So Shapiro could definitely pull some people in. Now, I'll be making a prediction. I believe that Kamala Harris's VP pick that will be announced tomorrow is going to be Tim Walz. And the reason why I say this is because I just don't see how Democrats would actually run the risk of picking someone like Shapiro who risks losing Michigan right away. I mean, if you pick Shapiro, you're almost guaranteed to lose Michigan. Almost guaranteed. If you pick Walz, you may win Michigan, you may win Wisconsin, and you may win Pennsylvania. Maybe, maybe not. But I think if you're looking at it from an advantage point or a Democrat point where you're trying to get an advantage over your opponents, the Republicans, you want to win as many states as possible. So it would be better for them to win Wisconsin and Michigan than win and lose Pennsylvania, than win Pennsylvania and lose Wisconsin and Michigan, obviously, because that's 25 electoral votes versus 19. So I do think if Walz is chosen, it'll be a lot better statistically. Their odds will be a lot better of winning the presidency. But with that being said, I was saying this from the beginning. I was saying Shapiro from the beginning, but I've been seeing some of the things that have come out, some polls from Michigan, and when voters are asked, especially Democrat Arab voters, and other people who also don't support the current U.S. policy in Israel, they all stated that they would not vote for Shapiro, or at least the majority of them did. So they would pretty much be guaranteed to lose votes in Michigan if they had gone with Shapiro. Or if they may still go with Shapiro, but we just don't know right now. But my prediction is Tim Walz. I don't think it's the best pick. I really don't. I would go probably with Mark Kelly, just because he's not really polarizing, and he has a very good track record as, a career. Obviously, this guy's an astronaut, and he was in the military. He was elected as a senator from Arizona, which is a very Republican state. So you got to give him credit there. But I guess they're going to go with most likely Shapiro Walz. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with Shapiro. I just don't think it would make any sense if you're looking at it from a winning perspective. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.